friends, and welcome to my channel. In today's video I wanted to share with you some of my favorite farmhouse decor DIYs for Christmas. I know a lot of people say farmhouse is done and over with, but I feel that at Christmas time is when my farmhouse decor comes out the most. I love all the signs and the rustic farmhouse look that is all in the Christmas theme. So I wanted to share some of the ones that are most favorite to my heart that I have created over the years on this channel. I hope that you guys enjoy this video. Let me know down below, do you think farmhouse style is gone over with? Would you like to see more farmhouse style DIYs over on my channel? I would love to know. Also, another thing that I wanted to mention, not sure if you have noticed, I am switching out my name for this channel. I will be doing it for all of my channels. So this will be DIYs with Sonja. I just think it's time to move on from Domestic Diva and switch out a name. Let me know what you think. Is it a better name than Domestic Diva DIY? Domestic Diva has been around for a while, and I just felt like I was ready for a change. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and let's get started. So for the first dupe, I will be creating a crate, and this inspiration did come from Kirkland's, and it was $34.99. I got my wood for free. I've had it on hand, and then the paint I had on hand, and I just used a Cricut machine to cut out some vinyl, which I had on hand. So my project was much cheaper. I did make mine a touch smaller, and I did not put dividers in it because I'm thinking I might use this box for a Christmas tree box. I have a small Christmas tree that I think that would look great in. So these are, I think they're fence boards, and I had cut them to size. So 2 longer ones, 2 shorter ones. This can be any size you want it to be. I'm not sure what size I cut this. I couldn't measure it out, but I just wanted to have 2 sets of equal size. So then I proceeded to gluing using wood glue and some screws, just 1 screw to hold it in place, and some wood glue to assemble this box. This was fairly easy to do. I mean, and I think screw guns are fairly easy to use. So I really like the way this went along, because sometimes I struggle with the power tools, but this was fairly easy. So I just aligned everything, added some glue, and then just 1 screw on each side just to keep it in place, primarily for the glue to start working. So once my box was assembled, I wanted to add a bottom to it. So I decided to use a piece of cardboard. Now, if you're using this as a Christmas tree box, you don't probably need a bottom for it. However, I was thinking that if I changed my mind and use it as a crate, I kind of would like to have. And I measured the cardboard out and then cut it to size and used hot glue to attach it. So I would not recommend necessarily lifting it with items in it because if it's very heavy, I don't think this would work out. You could also put a piece of chipboard underneath it, and staple it on if you wanted it to be more of a carrying crate. I'm just strictly making this for decor, so I was okay with a piece of cardboard. But like I said, I suggest that if you are going to be putting heavier things and moving it around, this will most likely not hold it in place. I love decorating with crates. However, I do not have one specific for Christmas, so I thought this would be really neat to create. So once it was all assembled, I went ahead and painted it with some black acrylic paint. I have been loving the technique where you put paint on wood and then you take a rag and wipe it off just so all that wood grain shows through it. So that is exactly what I did here as well. And I just love the effect that it created. So I painted all four sides. I did not paint inside of it, but I just painted the outside walls. So once it was all done, I let it dry, and while it was drying, I went ahead and made a design on my Cricut design space that I wanted to add to the sides. The original look had the Christmas trees on it, but I kind of wanted something a little bit different. I wonder if you can guess what it is that I'm going to be putting on, but it did not take very long for the crate to dry since I was wiping it off. And I am just using a removable vinyl by Cricut and some Dollar Tree transfer tape, aka clear shelf liner. I have been liking the way this works, and you can beat the price at $1.25. So once I had the image weeded out, I transferred it onto the clear tape, the clear shelf liner or the transfer tape, and then I transferred it on to the box. And I always say with the wood or any uneven surfaces, you just want to make sure you go with that little scrubbing tool and just go over it several times, because I find that sometimes the letters don't want to stick if the surface isn't even. And then also another tip, I did not do this, but you could completely do this as well. Once you are finished with adding the image on and you are done, you can seal it with a little bit of a Mod Podge or some sort of a sealer that you might have, because that will help it kind of stay in place for long. I have never had a problem with stuff coming off, but if you wanted that extra durability, and especially if you're going to be taking it outside, you might want to put some sort of a sealer on it. So to finish the project off, I did end up adding a little Christmas tree onto the truck, and I cut that out on my green vinyl, and this green vinyl actually did come from Dollar Tree. And the image is, the whole design was available on the design space over on Cricut. So I just cut the whole thing and then cut the tree separately, but it was part of the design. I absolutely love the way this turned out. I think it was a great dupe. I know it's not exactly like the other one, but I think it came pretty close. Let me know what you think. For the first DIY, I'm going to use two different images. I'm going to use the Fresh Flowers one and the Farm Fresh Christmas trees. I really wanted to create a sign with a truck and some Christmas trees. So I thought combining those two would be great. So I have these I think they're like press board to MDF, I think it is what the piece of wood is called. I got a package of, I think, 4 from Dollarama for $4 a while back. So I had one on hand and I gave it a coat of white chalk paint. This is off-white, the original from Annie Sloan. And while that was drying, I cut out what I wanted to use out of this one, which was just the truck itself. And then I also ended up cutting out a whole bunch of other stuff like the trees and the words from the other page. I was going to put all 3 trees originally. That was the plan, but then once I assembled it, I realized that the 3 trees weren't going to work. There wasn't enough room on the truck to use all 3. So I can definitely use this one tree on a different project. That's what I love about all of this stuff, is that, you know, if it doesn't work for one, it will for sure work for the other. And then I place them on top of the board just to see how it's going to look before I went ahead and glued everything down. And I did decide to trim some of the letters as well, some of the words I mean, because I wasn't loving the way they were cut right now. The Farm Fresh was okay, but the Christmas trees, I felt like it wasn't really working, that part. So I ended up trimming it as close to the letters as possible. As you can see, this was okay. It was still wasn't quite where I wanted to be, so I ended up separating them and just doing it that way. And that seemed to have gave me the look that I was going for. You can play around, do it as you like. And then I just used some school glue to glue it on the board. I thought this was the easiest, just to use this glue, because I will be going with Mod Podge over top of it just to seal it and make sure it's not flipping upwards anywhere. I just love the way this was turning out. As you guys know, if you're following along, I love anything with trucks, and this was perfect. And to make this truck look even more Christmassy, I took the little squares at the back of the calendar that shows you what kind of images are, and I just trimmed one to fit in onto the door of the truck, kind of like the, you know, when they have like the company's logos. That's the look that I was going for, and I absolutely love the way this turned out. I trimmed it where it needed to be trimmed, and then I took a pencil and I just drew some lines, because if you look at closely enough from the where the Farm Fresh is and around the letters, you could see that there are some like wood grains showing through, and so I wanted to add that to the board as well, and I love the way that turned out. For next DIY, I'm using the same page as I did the previous one. I had 2 of these calendars, and I had this piece of wood that I used for a different DIY that I no longer needed, and I just trimmed it to fit the paper and overlap maybe 1/2 inch on each side. And I just measured out 2 pieces like that, and I will be hot gluing them each to the paper. This is such a simple DIY, and I absolutely love using these calendars. I think they go such a long way. For $1.25, you pretty much have one, possibly two DIYs for every season if you're using the back little squares that are at the back. I was really lucky that I was able to find some here in Canada because last year I could not find any. I hope you are enjoying this video so far, and if you are, make sure you give me a thumbs up. It helps my channel grow. It helps my analytics and all that fun stuff that YouTube has for us. And if you are the first time here, I would love it if you considered hitting that subscribe button and a notification bell so you don't miss out any of my uploads. And I would also like to know which one was your favorite, so please leave me a comment. And if you're stopping by for the very first time and subscribing, or just stopping by, let me know down in the comments as well. I would love to get to know you better. Let me know you're new, and let me know what you are enjoying. So let's keep going. So like I mentioned before, once I had the piece of wood trimmed to size, I added some glue to the top of the page and glued the piece of wood on top, and then I did it and repeated the same thing on the bottom as well. And to finish the whole thing off, I ended up adding some rope to the top of it if I want to. Well, you're gonna have to hang it because it is a little bit flimsy, so it would not stand on its own. If you would want it to stand, you could put a piece of cardboard behind it to make it more sturdier, or even put maybe some wood on the back. I think the stir sticks, the paint stir sticks, would work really well on the back of it, and that would make it maybe stand up a little bit better than what it is now. And I just used some nautical rope that I had on hand and had glued it to the top for hanging. And I just love the way this turned out. So easy, so simple, and I think it's gonna look great. Round that I picked up on Facebook Marketplace, but you can also, if you're lucky enough, find one of these at a Dollarama in their kitchen section as cheese boards. So I'm going to be painting it, only half of it, and I'm using painter's tape to divide the board in half and to get that straight edge. I am using Annie Sloan Graphite chalk paint. I love this paint. It is a gray black paint, and I think it gives it more of a softer black look. Once that is completely covered, I remove the tape immediately so that way there is no tearing of the paint. And I'm going to be transferring letters that I cut out using my Cricut Maker, and I just cut out the word Merry Christmas onto it. You could also use a stencil if you have one. Dollar Tree tends to have these stencils right around Christmas time, so make sure you keep your eyes out so you can pick one of them up. Also, if your handwriting is good, you could also do that. Now, I would also like to mention that this video is part of a hub that is hosted by Yanni and Diane from Decorative. Make sure you check out their channel. I will link their video channel in my description box. And if you're not familiar with the way the hub works, there will be a link to the next person in my description box that you can hop on over once you are done watching my video, and that person will have another person, and eventually you will make a full circle back to me. So tons of Christmas in July DIY inspirations for you coming in this hub, so make sure you check them all out. When you are transferring these letters on, you just want to make sure that you are centered. I just think that will make it look so much better if it's right in the middle. Now, I love the way it looks as it is, but I am not done yet. I am going to be using some of the supplies that I had left over from Christmas holiday last year that I was using for DIYs. I will be using the black and white and red and white buffalo check ribbon, as well as a burlap ribbon. And then I have this Christmas pick that was left over from my projects as well as some berries. Now, I am not an amazing bow maker. I am still learning, and I feel practice makes perfect. So I just fold these into the middle, and then I twist tie them with a white pipe cleaner, and then pull them apart and trim the pipe cleaner, the back of it off. I also trim the little greenery just to make it a little bit smaller, and then I place it, and once I am certain it is right in the spot that I wanted, I hot glue it on. I think this turned out so good, good enough to sell in my opinion. I am not going to be selling this because I love it as it is. I am also adding a mini pine cone right in the middle. I think that just looks really pretty with it on. So let me know what you think. Is it good enough to sell? Next DIY that I'm going to be working on is probably the most involved one, and it is a trash to treasure makeover. I had actually picked this easel up from a friend. She had thrifted it last year. Actually, when we went thrifting together when she picked it up, and then she was no longer using it. So she gifted me with it, which was very nice of her. And I decided to create a sign for my hot cocoa station. I have seen similar signs in last year's videos from the hot cocoa decorating videos, and I absolutely loved it, and I thought I could recreate one since I haven't been able to find one to buy. So I am not going to be painting the wood, but I did want to do something for the face of it where the galvanized part is. So I had this buffalo check wrapping paper on hand from last year still, and I thought this would look really good as a background for this easel. So I cut it to size, and then I'm going to be using Mod Podge to apply to glue it on. But before I go ahead and add Mod Podge to the easel, I wanted to give it a wipe down because it felt like it had a little bit of dust or something on it. So I wanted to make sure that it was clean before I put Mod Podge down. And I'm just using a matte Mod Podge and a foam brush to do this. And you just want to make sure that all the little corners have the Mod Podge on as well. I pretty much just wanted to make sure that the whole piece was covered with it. I'm curious, do you guys have hot cocoa stations in your decor? I have started that tradition a few years back, and now it's a must. My kids just love it, and it has kind of grown over the years, bigger and bigger, and now it's almost a centerpiece in my dining room, and I can't wait to be decorating it this year, especially with all the new DIYs that I had created for it. In this video, as well as the previous tier tray videos, I have done quite a bit of hot cocoa pieces, so if you haven't seen that video, make sure you head on over to my Christmas playlist because it will be in there. I think I did some in Christmas in July as well for the tier tray. So once I had the Mod Podge on where I wanted, all over the place, I glued the paper on, and you just want to make sure you push out all the bubbles. I have actually had this roller, it's a decoupage roller on hand, so I wanted to give it a try, and it came with this little pusher thingy. I don't know what it's called, and so I used both of them to just smooth it out, make sure there's no bubbles anywhere, and also push the little paper into all the corners around the easel.
I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new, 'cause I missed you.
So once it was all nicely on there, I cut out another image or piece, I guess, on my Cricut, and I'm just cutting it to size before I put the before I weed it out and put a transfer tape on it. I just wanted it to be easier to handle. This one wasn't as hard to weed out because it was much bigger letters and a bigger design.
I'm letting go of everything but you.
I have been enjoying my Cricut, I think, the most now at Christmas time. I did use it a little bit more at fall, but I have been using it quite a bit for Christmas decor DIYs. I just love all the little things that ideas you can get on Pinterest, and they all require Cricut, so I have been loving creating these. I do know that some of you might not have a Cricut, so I just wanted to say that a lot of these ideas could be done with just printing these out onto just a regular printing tape paper, and maybe even just gluing them onto your surfaces, or using a tape transfer method, which I've done several times before, and you can find that on my DIY on my channel. You could also use the hippo slide, water slides, if that's something that you want to venture out and do. They are probably cheaper than getting a Cricut machine, probably a little bit more work though. So once I was ready, I just added my transfer tape on, took the backing of the vinyl off, making sure I don't pull any other letters with it, and then I was ready to transfer it onto the easel. If you did end up having several bubbles on the wrapping paper, which I did just a couple of them, when you are rubbing the transfer tape and making sure that the letters stick, and you're using your little handy rubbing tool from Cricut, just make sure you're not pressing too hard, because you might catch that little bubble and rip the wrapping paper, tear wrapping paper. So just a little tip, just be careful and gentle when you are rubbing it. I do find that transferring images is a lot easier than transferring them onto an object, a lot easier than transferring them off of vinyl to transfer tape, or even weeding it out. I find it doesn't need as much elbow grease when you're pushing stuff down with that little rubbing tool. So I just love the way this turned out. And to finish it off, I gave it another coat on top of the Mod Podge, just so that way it all kind of looks even and the same. And I used the same Mod Podge as before and the same brush. And you want to just make sure that you get Mod Podge everywhere and into all the corners, so that way the look is even.
The good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill.
Project, I'm using one of these artist panels that I picked. I think this one came from Dollarama. Not sure if I got it at Dollar Tree. I'm not sure if the Dollar Tree actually carries them. But I just stained, again, using the same stain. And you can use whatever stain or paint you wish. I'm just using this one because I love it. And I stained the like the front of it as well as the inside of it. And then just a little bit on the edges as well. And don't worry about messing up the inside, because I will be gluing on some wrapping paper. I am going to be using the same wrapping paper that I used in my hot cocoa station, if you had watched that video, and I'm using tacky glue to add it on. So I'm just measuring out where to cut it approximately, because doing it this way I will be about 1/2 inch on each side longer. But then I just put it there and marked it off with a pen, just did little dots to know where to cut it, and once I cut it and fit it in, I just glued it on. Now I did cut out a image on my Cricut machine, and this is one of those images that is available on Cricut Access. So I do not know what font it is. I did try to look it up because I had a question in one of my previous videos what font I used. So I went ahead and looked at it, but it doesn't actually tell me what font it is because it's already pre-made project. You just size it up to fit your whatever your project you're doing. You can move items around as well, but I didn't. I just left it as is. Now I did make a mistake of adding this way too soon because the tacky glue has not had a chance to dry. So when I went and tried to pull this off, it was ripping the paper off with it. So I proceeded on finishing this project just so I can show you, and I did redo the backing again by gluing on the wrapping paper and then waiting and cutting out another image. This project that I'm working on, it has to be my favorite out of the three. I had this scrap piece of wood laying around, so I decided to use it up. I gave it a bit of sanding, more or less just to get the cobwebs off of it because there were a ton. And then I will be using that same flag red that I've been using, but before I painted, I went ahead and taped off an edge about a centimeter. I was actually using my nail as a guide on the edges, and this will create a border. I like doing this sometimes if I don't have extra wood to add to the top to create that border. This is a great way to kind of doing this. It looks like a border, but it's not really a border type of thing. It looks like there's an extra wood over top of it, but there really isn't. It just creates that border look. And then I went ahead and I painted one coat of that red paint. Now that paint, I wanted some of that wood grain to show through, so the coat, I didn't want to put more than one coat on. As soon as I was done painting, I removed the tape off. That way it doesn't create any dryness in case if there was a bulb of paint anywhere, a blob of paint anywhere, I won't be ripping it off. So you always want to remove your tape while your paint is still wet. Once I was all done, I ended up giving this board a nice just light sanding. This just smoothed everything out. Then I went ahead over to my Cricut machine and I had cut out an image. I have actually purchased this image off of Etsy. I could have made it myself. This just saved me a ton of time, and it was, I think, under $3. So I ended up did adjust it because the image was more square and I needed it to be more rectangular, so I moved a couple things around just so it would fit more better onto my board. And then I used my vinyl that I have, the white one, and as well as the dollar store transfer tape to transfer it on. I think Etsy is a great place to get some of these images on because they have such a great variety of SVGs on there. I also have an Etsy shop as well that I have included just a few SVG files that I have made myself on there if you want to check them out. I always struggle a little bit. I struggle with weeding out small items, which I did lose some letters here. I end up going back and cutting it out separately on the Cricut and adding it separately from this image. But when you are transferring the image to any surface, I was trying to make sure that there was equal amounts on each side of red left or empty no image space left. So I just end up using a measuring tape to figure that out, so that way the image is where I want it to be and kind of centered. I think this white vinyl against this red looks so good, and the red paint on top of this board, it just darkened it up and it gave it that, in my opinion, a vintage look, that red vintage paint look, which I absolutely love. I can't wait to use this sign over in my dinette area. Hopefully I can hang it up where my sign is now, where I have a picture now, and to replace it for Christmas. My next project, I had picked up this frame for $4.99 with chicken wire, and I really liked the way it looked, but I wasn't sure what I would use it for. And then I came up with an idea that would be really neat to make a Christmas card or a picture holder for my daughter. She's doesn't need a huge amount of space to attach her Christmas cards that she exchanged with her friends, and I thought this would be a perfect little hanger for them. I used some red file folders to cut out the little triangles, and then I also have these little clothespins that I picked up at Dollar Tree. And then you need some rope and just some greenery to embellish the corner. I'm also going to use this marker. It is a white, I think it's a water-based marker. So the first thing that I do is I cut out triangles to spell out Noel. Then I spell out Noel on the triangles. Now for where I want to place them, I kind of play around with it a little bit just to see where they go. And then I'd cut the rope to length, and I'm not going to hot glue this rope down just because in case if she ever wants to remove this, it will be just much easier to untie the rope than actually having to pop it off. However, I do glue the greenery down, but that should be fairly easy to pop off if she wants to use it all year round. And I use the little clothespins to clip the letters onto the rope.
But somehow I knew, and maybe so did.
If this is your first time stopping by my channel, I would love it if you considered subscribing, pressing the notification bell so you don't miss out any of my future uploads. I have several more Christmas DIYs left, and then we are moving on to a couple winter ones, and then I'll be taking a little break with maybe some bonus videos over Christmas. I also wanted to say that I have two other channels, a home channel and a cooking channel, and they will all be linked down below. So here it is. I hope you enjoyed this one. I thought it turned out really cute. So I would like to thank you all for watching this video, and make sure you check out the playlist as well as Sandra's channel, which will be all linked down in the description box. So until next time, hope you guys have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all in my next video. Hi guys. Today I'm going to be making over, sprucing up this vintage old sleigh that I had picked up at a thrift store. Now I paid $40 for it, which was a little bit more than I wanted to, but it was the cheapest I could possibly find for the one that I liked. So I guess it was a good deal in that sense that I was able to actually find one. They ranged from anywhere from like $60 to $100. So I wanted to give it a little bit more brightness by painting over with some red chalk paint. I'm using Emperor Silk chalk paint from Annie Sloan, and just dry brushing it on a little bit. Now my paint was kind of dry, so I ended up adding some water, so I ended up having to wipe it off, but dry brushing is what I was going after. And just to give the metal pieces where the red paint was already on, just to brighten it up a little bit. I think that would add the extra color on my front porch to match my sign that I already have there. I also want to mention that this video is part of a challenge hosted by Jamie from Border Bananas. It is her Flipping Friday that she hosts once a month. And if you have not had a chance to see Jamie's channel, make sure you head on over to the description box, because I will include her link as well as the playlist to this challenge. Next, I wanted to create a bit of a decor for it. So I'm going to be making a swag to put on top. I had gotten some stuff from my garden, as well as a couple embellishments like berries and ribbon and pine cones. Pine cones actually came from my garden as well. And I'm going to attempt on making a bow. I am not a bow maker, but I thought I'd give it a try. I have gotten this ribbon from Michael's for my tree, so I had some left over, so I thought I'd use it up. I am using a florist wire to attach everything, and then I'm going to leave a long string at the end, so I'm able to use that to attach the swag to the sleigh. If you haven't seen how I made these bells, I will leave a link in the eye in the sky for you to check them out. They were a great hit and so easy to make, and for $1.25, can't go wrong.
The wonders of life got the prettiest side for everyone to enjoy. Standing up close by the Christmas tree, glimmering light, I am right where I wanna be. I will be home for a couple of days, wander around with you, you and me.
Like I had said before, I am not a bow maker, so I am pretty much just winging this and hoping for the best result possible. And I have to say, I was pretty pleased with it. Could have been a touch bigger, maybe something I'll work on. You'll just have to come back and check out my front porch decorate with me and to see if I actually added something or if I left it as is. And that video will be out next Saturday.
And do you like to be here too? It's Christmas, and outside snow's glistening. It's just you and me tonight. I'll spend all this Christmas with you. Oh, it's such a charm, got you up in my arm. There's nobody at the door. You said I wish this will never be over. Darling, it's time for your present. Come over here.
I absolutely love when I find something that I'm looking for. I have been looking for this sleigh for so long, and I was so excited. I even had my friends looking for a sleigh whenever they went thrifting, just in case if they found one. So I was super excited when I came across this one. Do you guys like thrifting? Let me know down in the comments what was one of your favorite purchases that you had thrifted before. This sleigh is definitely one of mine. There are several others, but this sleigh definitely tops it.
And some kind of love, my friend. Pick up some candy canes and hang a wreath on your door. It's Christmas, and outside snow's glistening. It's just you and me tonight. It's just you and me tonight. It's just you and me tonight. I'll spend all this Christmas with you.
Also would like to say, if you are not subscribed and you're brand new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sonja, and I hope that you enjoy this video. And if you do, I would love it if you press that subscribe button and a notification bell so you don't miss out any of my future uploads. I do trash to treasure thrift flips several times a month on my channel, and I do have a challenge coming up next month, so stay tuned for that. And don't forget to press that big like button if you are enjoying what you're seeing. I was just trying to figure out whether I should add these pine cones. They're the long ones. I got them out of my garden. But I did decide to put them on, and I just take some twine and tie it up to the top and then tie it to the back of the sleigh. So here it is. I hope you guys enjoyed my little makeover and sprucing up of this sleigh. I think it's going to look really, really good on my front porch with the rest of the decor. For my next one, I am using this half tin, I want to say hanging half tin, that I picked up at Dollarama, and I have had this bag left over from last year. This came from Walmart, and I used the other side for a different DIY, and then I had kept it instead of throwing it out because I knew I might use it again. So I want to dress this tin with this red truck bag side, but it was a little bit long, and I knew I wanted to make another DIY, so I cut off the part where it says Merry Christmas because I was going to use that for my next DIY. And I will be using so once you trim it to the size that you want it, I will be using the Mod Podge to glue it onto the tin. I did also have to use a little bit of hot glue just in the corners. And it is cold outside. We gather around the fireplace, and no one cares about that I can come home to. Yes, I am on my way. We'll put our differences aside and just enjoy this moment of peace and love and happiness. We come together to celebrate. Once I had it on the way I wanted it, now be aware that it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be sides that are going to be showing, but I didn't mind that because I will be gluing some nautical rope to the top and the bottom. So I was okay with some of it not covering the tin completely. If you want the tin to cover completely, I wouldn't trim it until you have it on, and then you can just trim the hanging parts off, just like I'm doing right now. So this is where I felt that I should just add a little bit of hot glue into the corners just so they stayed in place as well. And then I'm just cutting out the little holes where the rope that I removed is going to go back in. And now I took some of my nautical rope that came from Dollarama and I just wrapped it 3 times on the bottom and 3 times on top. And I did not wrap the whole 10, I just went to the sides because that's going to be flush up against whatever you put it up, whether you hang it or just sit it on top of your mantle or the floor. So there's no need to wrap it all the way around. And I just think this gave the tin even more of that rustic farmhouse look. And if you've been following along since last year or the year before, you know I love my red trucks. Well, I love it. I use a truck in all of my decor, but I absolutely love the red truck at Christmas. I think some of my decor themes are based on that look.
Yes, every time the snow is falling down and it is cold outside, we gather around the fireplace and no one cares about yesterday. My favorite holiday, it means so much more than words can say. And I claim that Christmas is a magic day. Sometimes I tend to forget what glory this holiday represents, but it's fair to say that Christmas is a magic day.
I absolutely love the way this turned out. I think it looks stunning. Today I will be creating a Dollar Tree Christmas DIY sign. This high-end Dollar Tree DIY is so cheap and easy to make. It cost me for both pieces about $2.50, but I only used less than half of the material to create it. And you can find these type of signs on Etsy shop for approximately $60 or so, give or take, depending on the size and what you want on it. I would like to mention that today's video is a start of my Christmas in July series. I will have, for next week or so, I will be posting tons of Christmas DIY inspirations. So make sure you have that notification pressed so you don't miss any of my uploads. So I picked up this canvas, which is the largest canvas that the dollar store sells, and I like using these if you have watched my videos, and I love the frame that's inside of them. This time around I will not be using the canvas, so I take it apart and I will keep the canvas for another project. And if this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. My name is Sonja, and on my channel you will find thrift flips, trash to treasures, dollar store DIYs, and furniture makeovers. I also have a home and a cooking channel, which will all be linked down below. Then I go ahead and stain this frame with very thin wood stain and dark walnut. And I use a rag to stain it as usual.
But I
I have also picked up this blackboard from Dollar Tree. It is just a black foam board, and it's great if you're trying to create that blackboard chalkboard look. I traced the frame on top of the blackboard, and the blackboard will be my backing for this frame. Now for the next part, I was thinking about using a Cricut machine, but I thought it might be just easier for me to write it, but you can totally use a stencil or make a stencil on a Cricut machine, or just use the vinyl cutout from the Cricut machine. I'm using this white chalk marker to write my Merry Christmas out, and I'm just using a picture on my phone as a guide for my writing.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night underneath the mistletoe, and I've gotten you a present that I put under the tree. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me. The snow is falling down and the storm is on its way, but as long as you're around, everything will be okay. 'Cause all I wanna do is spend this holiday with you. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you. I longed for this moment to have you for myself in a cabin out of nowhere.
Now when I add the thickness to my letters, I always go to the parts of the letter that go down, and I make those thicker.
It's Christmas, the first for you and me. Another year went by, but the difference this time is that ever since July, I've been happier than I have ever been. It's safe to say that my love for you is true. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you. I longed for this moment to have you for myself in a cabin out of nowhere, just us and no one else. I've decorated everything till we're perfect for this week. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
Last thing that I do is I add some rope to the back so I can hang it up. I'm using hot glue, but you can also use staples. I didn't have good enough staples. I only had strong staples, and I was worried it was gonna split the frame. So make sure you have the correct staples for that.
The wonders of life got the prettiest side for everyone to enjoy. Standing up close by the...
So here it is. I think it turned out so nice, and it looks amazing on my front porch, hanging on the light post. Using white chalk paint. I got this at a brand new dollar store that I have discovered, And I'm also using the other side of a wooden box that I picked up at Dollarama. I'm going to paint it on the inside, the top, the bottom, and the sides using a foam brush. And then I'm going to let this dry. I don't see a reason to painting the back because it's going to be leaned up against the back. And once it had a significant amount of time drying, so you want it to be fully dry, I take these tongue depressors or large popsicle sticks, and I make almost like a box out of them. I cut off the rounded parts on each side of one, and then I take another one and just cut sides that are long enough so it closes the box down, because I will be gluing the long popsicle stick at the front and then just the two on the side. So I want to cover both sides with that. So at the same dollar store, it's called My Dollar Store and More. It's kind of similar as Dollar General. I had picked up this old walnut stain, and I will be staining that with this. This is my first time using this, and I have to say I was quite impressed with the coverage and the quality of the stain. So once I paint both the front piece and the side pieces and let them dry. And while that's drying, I am going to cut out some vinyl piece on my Cricut machine. I'm fairly new to the Cricut world, so I'm learning as I go. And I had purchased this vinyl roll of it on Amazon. I will have it linked in my Amazon store. It is a little bit more shiny. I did not realize that they had matte as well, so I picked up the shiny one. Oops. Oh well, it will work for this project. And I am using a shelf liner, clear shelf liner, to transfer the image onto the box. I had picked up the clear shelf liner at Dollar Tree for $1.25. One thing that I have learned with using a Cricut machine is that every single process requires you to press real hard with this tool that I got in the set, because that is how you ensure that things are sticking and are not peeling off when you don't want them and sticking on when you want them to. Once I have it off, which takes me a little while, I wanted to be careful so none of the letters rip off. I place it carefully inside the box, making sure that it's positioned right, high enough, and that it's not too much to one side or the other. And then I use that tool again where I press like a mad woman. And voila, I absolutely love the way the reveal is. Like, it just makes me so happy when I see those letters on so well. And then I hot glue my makeshift box on. And then I use these bottle brush trees before I hot glue the sides, and I cut off the round part, the wooden part, and then I make them a little shorter, and then I glue the wooden part back on, just because the little ones were too short. These were like the medium size, were a touch too tall, so I just wanted to make them a touch shorter so that way they don't cover too much of the sign. And then I take them and I hot glue them inside the box, and then the last thing that I do is hot glue the sides to it. And I think this box turned out so cute. I absolutely loved the end result. I'm starting off with this Dollar Tree crate. I will be using a stain. You can also use acrylic paint if you don't wish to use the stain. This is the Veritane Ultimate Wood Stain in dark walnut. Then you're gonna need some white paint. I am using these stencils that I picked up last year from Dollar Tree, and I will be using these little stars, kind of makeshift snowflakes a little bit. And then I will be cutting an image out from Cricut, and I will also be using some bottle brush trees. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stain this with this stain. It's on its almost last legs. Not much left, but there's still enough for today's projects. So I'm just going to rub that on. So this does not take very long to dry. I'm just going to go in the little crevices. I'm gonna go try and do that with a brush, but we'll see how that works out, because I do not want it to be too dark. I think that's pretty good. And I'm just using angled brush. And you can always wipe off any extra stain. There we go. Now I'm going to go and cut out my image on my Cricut machine. You can also just stencil something if you don't have a Cricut machine, or put a sticker, or just leave it as is. For the design, I'm using Cricut Design Space, and I just choose a design that suits me. You also want to measure out your crate to know the size of the design that you're going to cut out, so that way it fits right in. I am using the white shelf liner from Dollar Tree just to give it a try, see how it works out, and I am using my Cricut Maker to cut the design out.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
So there you go. And I don't think I'm gonna use the little snowflakes, because I do love it just the way it is, but I'm going to add just a little bit of Mod Podge in case, because of these hollow lines. I'm worried that it's gonna not gonna stick to very well, so I'm just going to, as an extra step, add a layer of Mod Podge on here. If you love Christmas DIYs, and this, or any DIYs for that matter, and this is your first time stopping by my channel, make sure you head on over to my Christmas DIY playlist, where you will find tons of DIYs. I've been working on them since end of October, so there's a good selection of them in that playlist. Okay, so that's done now. And now for the inside, I have a couple of these bottle brush trees, and I'm just debating which size to use and how to use them. I think this will be perfect. And here's the crate. I absolutely love the way this crate turned out. The lettering looks really good against the stain, and I love the trees in it. Using this Dollar Tree fabric, a large mason jar lid, just the middle part. These picture frames that have the galvanized metal, some twine or rope. So you will need 3 of these, and then I'm also using the Joy letters. Now for these letters, I will be cutting them. Okay, but because these are white, galvanized, and galvanized they won't show. I am going to just paint them white with my white acrylic paint. And I'm not gonna be like perfect. I want them to look a little bit messy. So I think that will be good, just like that.
Happier than I have ever been. It's safe to say that my love for you is true. Tomorrow it is.
Now I'm going to trace my lid, but I want to be able to get most of the car in it.
Just us and no one else. I've decorated everything till we're perfect for this week. Tomorrow it is Christmas.
And now I'm going to add Mod Podge on the front and on the bottom and the top.
'Cause all I wanna do is spend this holiday with you. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you.
It's not a bad idea to have a specific paintbrush just for Mod Podge. That way you never run into an issue where maybe you didn't wash your paintbrush well enough and then the paint comes off on it. So now, just to clean it up a little bit, I'm going to hot glue this rope to the edge. So that will be my O. And then my J. And my Y. I think the Joy sign turned out really cute, and I love how rustic it looked. I'm making a super fun project. I think it is anyways, using a stencil that I just cut out from Cricut. Now you don't, I always say you don't need to use a stencil. It definitely makes a project go a lot smoother, but I will link the website where I got the free SVG for this. And I just cut it up, resized it and cut it on an old file folder. That way, if I want to reuse it for anything else, I can. It's just a little bit more, I guess, reusable than vinyl. Vinyl probably works better because it sticks to the surface, so you just have to be a little bit more careful with this one when you are stenciling. So I will take apart the stencil in a minute, but let me just go and let you know what else I'm using. So I have this wrapping paper that I picked up at Dollar Store, and it looks like butcher paper. And then I have some old toilet paper rolls and a paper towel roll, hot glue gun, black paint, and actually I'm thinking I might I'm gonna stick with black paint. I was thinking maybe doing Christmas trees in green, but I will do it with black paint just to stick to original plan, and just something to put your paint on, and a stenciling brush, a knife, crafting knife for your stencil if you need it, and scissors to cut the butcher paper if I need. Well, I definitely need to. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart my stencil. It's the project that inspired mine, and I'm trying to somewhat recreate it. And as you can see, the cost of this project is $62, and I just think that I can make it for a lot less, like pretty much $1 because I had everything else in hand, but definitely under $5. And I am just new to this Cricut machine, and I did watch a tutorial, but I always forget to link these up, so I always have to use a bit of a tape for that. Not a big deal.
We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling.
Now I'm going to cut my paper to size, and I'm just going to cut it and make it a little shorter so it's not as wide.
Hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling.
So I'm going to take my rolls now, and I'm going to glue them just to keep form. I'm gonna use 2 here, and then one whole one on top. To secure it so it doesn't unroll, I'm just going to put some hot glue there and there, so that way it holds it in place. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom.
I can promise Santa's coming to visit. No, he wouldn't miss this in Christmas times. Oh, and the sun said it is just getting.
And now I'm going to place my stencil right in the middle. Just going to
On a blanket with the skyline painted in blue. Ooh.
and I'm just lightly taping it down. I'm not pressing on the tape because I don't want it to damage the paper.
It will always be Christmas in my heart.
Now careful with not too much paint. I'm going to sponge it on. And the stencil brush I'm using is from the Dollar Tree. Dip it and then take as much paint off as possible so I don't have too much paint on it.
Have a good time, dance, dance. All night long we're gonna dance, dance. And have a good time. I think Santa's gonna come and join us in this song. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling, all the windows in the rain is pouring.
Alright, and now for the reveal. Oh, I love it. I love it. Now I just have to fill in where the tape was.
Hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand. You and me. Doesn't matter, it's Christmas in my heart.
Okay. So that's that. And now I'm going to I wanted to put an arrow here as well. If you see on the design there was an arrow, I just didn't cut it out because I figured I can probably do one myself.
We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Okay. There, and now once it dries, I'm going to add a rope, which I forgot to show you. I'm just gonna grab it. So this is like a nautical rope or jute rope. And I'm just going to cut it to size. And I'm also going to make this a little bit shorter. There. There we go. And the nice thing about having that little hole there is I can thread my rope through it. We'll be chilling. I'm going to take this long piece of wood and just push the rope through. And tie a loop. And I'll show you what it looks all hung up. Looks like all hung up. So here it is, all hung up. I think it looks really, really good. And for very little cost comparing to what the other one cost at the store, I couldn't be more pleased. Next project, I'm using this galvanized tin that I had in my crafting stash, some Mod Podge, and this napkin that I had bought at Walmart. I'm going to cut it to size, and then I thought I was going to use both trucks to kind of wrap it around, but then I've decided I really just want to use the one piece and kind of glue it to the front. First I just cut a rectangle, but then I end up cutting it as close as possible to the design. Once I have it cut, you need to separate it again because there are several layers of this napkin and you just want to have one layer. So I put a generous amount onto the tin of the Mod Podge, and then I placed the napkin on, but gently. I did end up ripping it a little bit, but managed to fix it. So you just have to be very, very gentle because the napkin is so thin.
Once more, and then time almost came to a stop, but somehow I knew, and maybe so did you, that everything would change from now on. Yes, from this Christmas on.
And then I follow with a generous amount of Mod Podge again, but I did end up dabbing it on versus actually brushing it on because I found that while I was brushing it on, it was pulling a little bit too hard and ripping.
We forgot what you came for.
So here is the tin, and I love how it looks. So I would like to thank Kiki for putting this collab together, and if this is your first time stopping by my channel, I would love it if you considered subscribing, pressing the notification bell so you don't miss out any of my future uploads. So until next time, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching.
Change from now on. Yes, from this green.
Next one, I made 2 of these. I picked up these clear ornaments at Dollar Tree, and these napkins I had left over from last year's DIYs. They came from Walmart. Now I'm going to be making 2 of them. I will only share one because they're exactly the same, both of them. I just wanted to have 2 of them. So I cut 1 napkin out for this whole project. So very budget friendly and inexpensive. Obviously, if it's budget friendly, it should be inexpensive. And then once I cut it up, I just separate the layers of the napkin because you only want to have that 1 layer. And then I use a matte Mod Podge to apply onto the ornament, and then that was obviously my glue for the napkin. And I covered first the one side, and then just gently placed it, and then I tried to make sure that the truck and the letters or the words were nicely on there, not wrinkled. The rest of it I was okay if it wrinkled. I just really wanted that truck not to wrinkle up. And I was showing you that it looks really cute without adding the back to it, because you can see the truck through it, but I still decided that I wanted to do the same process on the back. And then once I was happy with how the placement was, I ended up just pinching the sides around, and then I trimmed it off, all the extra, and you don't have to worry about covering the whole side because I will show you what I'll do. But I did end up just pressing everything down and smoothing it out. You don't want to press too hard because the napkin will rip. And then I went ahead and hot glued some nautical rope to go around it. I did see this DIY a few years back, a similar one on Pinterest, but I was never able to find these ornaments. I found the full circle ones, like ball ornaments, but I've never found ones like these, and these worked much better. And then I finished it off with more layers of Mod Podge on top, just to give it that more solid texture and make it more permanent so it doesn't come off. I just love the way these turned out.
Making our Christmas memory.
Well, I hope you had enjoyed this video. If you did, like I said, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting me know which one was your favorite. And I will see you all in my next video. Thank you all so much for stopping by.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been wrapping presents for you. I've been hanging marbles in the tree.